To start off our session with, I was trying to record with random players because I wasn't able to find anybody to play with, but I did get someone to play with me for the next 9 stages. Also, I did not play as the retro costumes, but in the future I might do a stream or something with them. It's basically just the alternate costume with the same loadout, but I figured it better to show off all the alternate costumes over that, and the person I played with did not have the retro. You can only play 3 Mercenary stages if you have not purchased any DLC. You unlock 2 by finishing Jake and Chris campaigns. Urban Chaos is unlocked from the beginning. You can actually play Mercenaries without beating the game. The rest of the stages on consoles are all DLC, but if you own the PC version, they're all there from the beginning. This is basically the new addition to Resident Evil 6, is you can slide into the time bonuses. Very handy. I like to plant a bomb in here because a Whopper will drop down later and all you do is blow him up and melee him and he dies.
Nice.
Basically, the only way to get a high score is by waiting around for the enemy to attack you and making sure they're weak enough to die to your counterattacks. That gives you the plus 10 seconds, as you could see. But that's boring, and I'm going to be making my best effort not to rely too much on them. But there are some great things that do happen with counters, and you can sometimes get a really good rhythm going where you're just counter-killing tons of enemies at once. This is pretty much why I said you really don't need to worry about the time running out, is because if you're getting consistent counters, especially against enemies who carry weapons around like this, or against bloodshots when they leap at you, yeah, you don't really have to worry about the time so much as you probably used to a lot in Resident Evil 5. You're already noticing a stark difference between Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6 in that there are very few enemies on screen at once. This leads to all sorts of problems, especially because zombies in Jawavo are a lot slower than the Magini of Resident Evil 5. I mean, right now you can just see there's nothing around to kill. In RE5 you were always swarmed. Oftentimes you're going to be finding yourself going for that powerful weapon in your inventory to get a quick kill to save your combo. Also, what's different is that strong weapons like the Magnum and the grenade launcher, ammo does not drop for those weapons, unlike in RE5. But the rifle, shotgun, and handgun, as well as the machine gun, will always get ammo, and adding on to that, you also will not get any grenades. You're not going to get any herbs or first aid sprays outside of boss enemies. Here comes something important. This is where this round kind of goes to shit. So I'm going up here to prepare for some enemies. He's got a ton of enemies over here, him, right now, but he's not killing them. You can look down there and see that he had plenty of enemies to kill, but, you know, he's not. He's just standing in a corner and shooting them. Naturally, this sucks all the joy out of Mercenaries, so now he must be destroyed. The real fun of Mercenaries comes out when you're working together with your partner and just kicking all sorts of ass. If he sits back in the corner, he's eventually going to die, and where is that going to leave me? Well, I will say one thing. I'm not going to stick out this round if he's just going to sit in a corner. I had a little more hope when he started moving around, but that didn't last very long. Alright, new game, and this time with someone who's not hiding in a corner. The dogs in Mercenaries die very easily, so you can bring out a melee weapon and just kill them with it for an easy 5 seconds. They also jump at you, which I did counter all the way back in Leon Chapter 1. But it's pretty hard to pull off, so don't do it if you're not confident. Also, I would point out that Helena's sultry RPD uniform alternate costume, its picture advertises her with a stun rod, but she doesn't actually have that weapon in-game. As Mercenaries goes on, the difficulty setting, the dynamic difficulty unique to Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6 starts to go up. So the enemies are getting a lot stronger. However, the firemen actually have a little bit more health than normal zombies do, so they can resist most counterattacks. The shoulder chuck that you see me do with the agent is basically Helena's counter move when she has a one-handed weapon equipped. And Piers also has that if he has a one-handed weapon equipped. It has a chance of... I would call it a glitch, because I don't think it was intended that firemen zombies' heads should pop. But they can. It's the best counter to use on this stage, though. Generally, there's a lot of things to keep in mind, to strategize about as Mercenaries is going on. Like this, where I planted the remote bomb in the Capcom arcade here. At 50 kills, this Whopper always shows up, and later on in the match, around 100 to 120 kills, 2 more Whoppers are actually going to show up, one of them being a Whopper Supreme. But basically all you do is plant a remote bomb, then melee them, and they die in one coup de grace. But if you have the grenade launcher with explosive rounds, it takes 2 grenades and then 1 melee hit. There was something I was neglecting this whole round, and that was to make 15 counter kills. Every stage in the Mercenaries on Resident Evil 6 has a hidden boss in it, but in all of my recordings of the stage it died or it just didn't show up, so sorry about that. Basically, the way to get the highest score possible is to kill that hidden boss at the 150th kill, so they have to be the 150th kill to get the most points out of it. That means you have to leave them alive, walking around and taking damage constantly, or hurting you, and on this stage that nap-pad can really get you. Yeah, it just becomes very chaotic, and this stage lives up to its namesake when you're playing duo too. For right now, we have the Bloodshots coming out, and you saw back there were gun-toting BSAA zombies who turned into Bloodshots with magnums. That can wreck a combo. There's a lot to keep in mind when you're playing these stages. There's a lot to figure out on most of them. This stage is complex, and it's tough. Out of nowhere, you can just die. Because at this point, zombies are also starting to vomit, which you can also counterattack. It's pretty satisfying when your coup de grace takes out multiple enemies, too. At around the 60 kill count, I say to come up here because most enemies spawn up here and will be coming up here. A word of warning, be careful about dropping down to those ledges there. You can't climb back up to this place from them. Since all characters can bring all their weapons to Mercenaries, the Bloodshots can actually be stunned by flash grenades, and if you do a quick shot with the combat knife, which is Chris's knife, and the stun rod, you can knock them over immediately. And as you can see, the combo has dropped. A Bloodshot got stuck on the geometry, and I continue to fail at throwing grenades tonight. But that's okay, I'll stick through the round. That's the kind of bad luck you get in Mercenaries all the time. But it's something else near the end that causes me to give up as well. That will happen a lot in Mercenaries. You will get grabbed by a zombie and struck by another enemy who might have already been doing their attack. That's how you go down really fast in Urban Chaos, especially. So a little bit more about the hidden boss. The only way to get them to spawn is to fulfill a certain secret condition before a certain threshold of kills is reached. In this case, it would be 80. So we have to make 15 counter-attack kills before 80 kills are reached in the round. And as the round really starts to draw to a close, I would like to point out that the Naphead actually does 5 squares of damage if he hits you with his strongest attack. That's what makes the stage pretty difficult if you can't stay away from him. I ran over there a bit to make sure there were no whoppers coming up and to hopefully get some enemies focused on me, because now I noticed he was getting surrounded. I'm going to help him out right now. He's not doing too bad on health, and I've got herbs and plenty of first aid sprays. Agent's got 3 first aid sprays. But then he runs away and refuses to help me now. When people start running around like this and just avoiding enemies generally and throwing all their firepower at a horde, I just consider it done and dusted. Alright, time to finish up the stage, but this time I'm rolling solo. We're picking up where we left off pretty much near the 120 kill milestone. As we can see, we've got zombies jumping at us now. That can be a huge pain in the ass, but you gotta use it to your advantage and get multiple kills with that counter. It pulps heads. When you play solo, which I personally think is the most boring thing ever when it comes to Mercenaries, you do take a lot less damage than when you play duo, just to even it out. And as you can see, I pulled off a double kill with that counter because the zombie on the ground was getting up. At this point, the stage is throwing everything it's got at you. We've got a lot of cop zombies with magnums coming out. Doesn't do much damage, but they do knock you over a lot, and it is pretty funny. But I actually do avoid it pretty well right now. Then we have BSAA zombies coming out with a lot of machine guns, and they actually have perfect accuracy. Not only that, some of them transform into bloodshots, which can throw you off, and that can ruin your combo, like I've said before. But you can still kill them pretty... They're not invulnerable while they transform. In fact, at the very start of their transformation, they can attack you. I may not have mentioned before, but if you use a basic melee attack against an enemy from behind, that counts as a stun in some way. It's not like shooting them in the head, but it's close enough that any other melee attack of some kind will send them into a stun where you can coup de grace them. And as you also saw, I was able to do a double melee kick without expending any stamina. You just angle your character away just right, and your kick or punch will home in on them, and you'll get a free stun. Just be careful though, it doesn't really work well when multiple enemies like this are all around. In case you've ever wondered, when you slap the bloodshot like that, the camera is not set properly, so it always looks like it's bugging out right there. Just thought I'd clear that up. And just in a moment here, we'll wrap up the stage. Honestly, once you've seen Mercenaries once, you've kind of seen it all. You really have to be playing it to get the experience, but hope you enjoy.